go live. And now it says we're live, but I don't trust technology. I'll never trust technology. I will never believe that we're live until I see it for myself. So I'm going to wait until it shows up on my timeline, and then I'm really going to believe that we're live. I think we're live. I'm going to see if I see anybody here. Okay, I'm pretty certain we're live. So now I'm going to press this button that says, "Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us." And somebody just said, let me just press this button. Kevin said his body is ready. Yeah, but we need your mind to be ready. But I really appreciate that, Kevin. So that sounds great. And Alan, thank you for being here. Hi there. That's how I wound up in. Okay. Oh, cool. You wound up in through Twitter, or you wound up in through Periscope? Because I'm not good at this stuff yet. Scotty says yes. Scotty says hello. And let me make sure if there's any comments here that thanks for hosting this. Thank you, Word Salad, for being here. And this is very exciting for me. And hopefully, Kumar, it's very exciting for you also.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. So Kumar's been a friend of mine for many, many, many years now, and he's just such a wonderful person. And one of the things that is really captivating is out of nowhere one day, he tweets out, "Send me the name of your company, send me the name of your startup, and I'll show you what." How do you say it, Kumar? What do you say?
I'll show you a non-obvious growth tactic in under 100 seconds.
Okay, Kumar, you're breaking up.
Obvious growth.
Kumar, you're breaking up a little.
I'll reply with a non-obvious growth tactic in under 180 seconds. Could you hear me now?
Okay. I can. I think maybe because you're moving around so much, just try and stay in one place if you can. That might be it. I don't know.
Maybe it's right?
I'm a tech guy and I'm a Space Force guy and everything else, but just pressing these buttons and getting a mic, I still couldn't figure out. So I see Chuck is here, so thank you very much. And yeah, guy, we're going to do it live. So Kevin, we're going to start now. But Kevin, we're not up to your company yet because I didn't want anybody to give me any of them in advance because I didn't want to tell Kumar any of them in advance because this is like a speed round for him. This is our game show. So, there's somebody from Bulgaria was really excited about it, and they're like, "I can't wait for this." Unfortunately, I'm not going to see it till the morning. So I sent Kumar the name of the company, but I said you can't press any buttons yet. So now we're going to see 3 screens. You're going to see Kumar and me, and then you're going to be watching Kumar do this live. It's crazy. So I'm really excited about this. And we're going to start right here, I think. That's Kumar's screen. And if I press this is the only thing I know how to do on this program so far. So you see me, you see Kumar, and you see Kumar's screen. Kumar, you've got the name of the company. Press that button and let's begin.
Solid. So it's a next generation report for geopolitical analysis. So the gameplay here, I'm wondering what their source data is. We'll see if they say. Companies, public leaders, issues. So I think what these guys are doing, they're using some form of entity recognition so they can identify proper nouns, and they're finding data feeds. That's RSS data feeds, whatever it is. Now, one of the easiest ways for them to get publicities is to blog about the changes in the system. There's actually a company that's started by Oren Hoffman, I think his last name's Hoffman. It's called SafeGraph. And what they do is they record everybody's business location. So they have location data on lots of cell phone users. So what we can do with them is if you go to blog, they create these interesting infographic data stories. And then they pitch journalists on them. So there's actually a company that will help them pitch journalists these sort of data stories. So what Damocles needs to do to drive a lot of traffic in their direction is create data stories similar to what SafeGraph's doing, maybe with geospatial elements inside of them. And then they can go pitch them with upbeatpr.com. So that would be the growth tactic for these guys. And that'll work pretty consistently because journalists are always looking for data-driven stories. One of the companies that's been particularly effective at this and is part of the core function is a company called Priceonomics. And all they do is create data stories. They even have a boot camp for how to do that. So you can look at their old articles, everything from diamonds are bullshit to the housing crisis and payday loans and stuff like But the way I'd grow them, write data stories, pitch them on upbeat PR, and that would be a fast way to get a lot of attention.
Okay, and because the person is not here and I want to be responsive, so I want to imagine that they are here, I don't even know what questions I should ask you. So about this company. So if you can think of a question that that person would ask if they were here right now, you can like interrogate yourself. Can you do that?
Yeah. So the question they might ask is, what type of data story would they ask? Or would they publish? How would they decide what type of data story is newsworthy? So there's a tool that's called What the Trend API. It tells you what events are trending. There it is. What the Trend. It's like a social blogging API, but the API will tell you what kind of events are happening. The other place you could source that data from is there's a major consumer newsletter called meetglimpse.com. These would be good sources of trends. This is how you discover trends before they're trending. They have companies, products, industries, all sorts of interesting stuff. The growth of Substack, the growth of Capwing, which is a design tool. They watch all this stuff. My friend Noah actually built this. But that might be my answer to his question. Oh, what am I going to like make a data story on? Those would be the things that would be relevant. If it's trending, then make a data story. If you have the data story, then go to Upbeat PR and you can take advantage of it.
Okay, so usually when you do this on Twitter, you tell somebody when it's over. Are we done with that company?
Yeah, we're done with that company.
Okay, so Kevin, Urban, Urbanovic, is that right? I hope I said that right. So I hope I said it right. So thank you. He says my first one is WW. Actually, let me see if I can put this on your screen so everybody can see it. Kumar, do you see that?
I can see the chat. What is the website?
It says www.strider.tech.
See what strider.tech is. Okay, so definitely one thing you should fix is this is extremely broad information. I don't know who is this targeting? Who's it for? Does it deal with electronics? What does it deal with? Government seeking to advance the world. I see. So it deals with intellectual property theft and supply chain vulnerabilities beyond the cyber domain. Our tools use proprietary data science, and human expertise. So this is for like Fortune 500 companies, yes. So yeah, so then to find the companies that care about this type of stuff, what we could do is we could go to monster.com. So I'm going to share a link here. It's bit.ly/scraping monster. And I'll share the link in the chat. One moment. I can't chat in there. Maybe you can. I'm sharing a link with you, Adam.
Yeah, you can just do it.
Yeah, here's a bunch of scraping tools. You can use any one of them. Just grab any developer. You can offshore this task. Essentially, we're going to look for anybody who's doing anything related to operations, research, or forecasting. This is the type of information that operations research analysts would want. So we can find these companies. You see Osgar Technologies. Now, the trick to find their email address, there's an API called Clearbit. There's plenty of competitors to Clearbit. You're not forced to use Clearbit. We can scrape this. So let's just click on it, pretend like we're scraping it, or the computer is automatically doing this. We click on the scraper automatically clicks here, finds a URL to this company. See right there, osgar.com, feeds it into this API to find the CEO's email address and get in touch with them. So that would be a way to get in front of companies that are caring about price forecasting or disaster preparedness, possibly even intellectual property stuff. But you'd have to do some wrangling around figuring out what the exact keywords are that'll yield you people who are hiring for the position you care about. But that's probably how I would approach it. I would also, on your lander, I want you to change your lander on this first thing. It needs to be more clear who you're targeting and what you're selling. This is very broad-based information. I would look at one of the things I would look at a tool called leadfeeder.com. Leadfeeder will give you the IP address. It'll tell you who's actually visiting your company based on the IP address. So what this company's done is they've matched IP address to the names of companies, and it'll give you context, and then you'll know to reach out to those companies. There's even automation tools to do that part. I won't go into it now,
though. Kevin, do you have any questions? I want to make sure we're responsive.
Yes.
Okay, so I haven't seen a follow-up question from you, so I'm going to move on for just a bit, and we're going to go over to, or if you have a question later, just ask. So we're going to go over factorawealth.com. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see it. So Factora Wealth. Usually when I look at a landing page, I'm trying to figure out who are they targeting. That's usually the hardest part. And at what time cycle and what does it cost?
So he's also contributed this bit of information. He says, no ad spend, one product is too many and another is a self-directed course, but it's not evergreen.
Got it. This pop-up is unfriendly to close. Google will penalize you. So okay, so this one's a really prime candidate to grow. There's a tool called Current.tech. A little bit of an obscure company, but it's well run. There's a guy named Trig who runs it. They have a UX flow in their system that'll capture your converted users and turn them into micro influencers. It's well designed for this, and I believe they do a combination of performance and you can pay. But I think this is the type of product people will share with others. So I think that would be a fast way to get more users, to get those users who have already done something to share content. After they check out, one of the things I like to do in funnels where there's a large audience that has a lot of reach, I do like to put something along the lines of perks for photographers or perks for influencers and see if they'll sign up. Current.tech does a version of that, but there's no reason you can't start small. I also do something called perks for bloggers, and then they'll send me their URL to their blog, and they've already purchased the course, so I'll ask them to write a blog post and link back to our site. But that would be a way to drive more customers without doing a lot of spend. And Current focuses on converting the people going through the funnel and turning them into proper influencers that drive traffic.
Okay, and he has a follow-up. So let me just put this on a screen. I think I saw a follow-up. I think it was here, or is that something I already addressed with you? Was that something I already pinged you on? Where it says no ad spend, one product is too many and another is a self-directed course. But that's what I did. Okay, so are we finished with that one? And Jay Grosek, I'm going to ask you if we're finished there. Do you have a follow-up question? Because this is a speed round, and I want to make sure that we're speeding through things, but at the same time, I want to make sure you have the opportunity to ask away. So I'm going to look right now. Okay, so this is his most recent comment, is right here.
Sales page. Yeah, I joined the Wealth Circle. The other thing you can look at, so I'll share this other tool. I always share this for anything that's consumer oriented. There's something called goodui.org. And it has a ton of tips for landing pages that need to be highly performant and sell a lot. So it's targeting consumers. It has like stuff you should go through. You don't have to fix everything. I always give this as a recommendation for any consumer product on conversion optimization. There's one other blog that I don't know if it's still run. It's called conversionxl.com and cxl.com. They have the 3-letter domain now, so they must be doing well. And it has a ton of tips on how to drive optimization and conversion. They'll help you fix a lot of those elements. And for financial products and financial education, especially, you need to have a lot of authority and trust, because you generally don't have any skin in the game on their success.
Okay, so I want to go on to the next, which is right here, Mongol Raider. And thank you so much for joining us. This is a lot of fun and it's exciting. How could we make our referral program for DNAR.io? I don't see a www there, so I'm not sure okay, cool.
Okay, so I definitely have something. This is definitely a bit gangster, but you guys can actually pull this. So you're on the Android phone, right? This is an Android application. Yeah, let's just see real quick. It's on the Android phone. So Android doesn't really care about security. So you're also in Africa. So there's nothing to stop you from grabbing the entire address book of all the members and then sending text messages to them cold. So since you're throughout Africa, what you're going to want to do is you'll import the address book. You'll flag the area codes and figure out which area codes are in which countries. You're going to build a giant Google sheet of every country in Africa, and you're going to see which countries have no regulations around cold spam text messages. And then what you'll do is when you import their address book, with their permission, without their permission, be as compliant as you need to be, you will text message their friends and say, hey, several of your friends are using the application. And that'll cause the number of users to go up. I've done this in the past with an app abroad. I won't name the app, but we were targeting Persian names. So we imported the entire book and we paired it to a database of all Persian baby names. And so we only texted Persians with a certain area code and a certain gender and ethnicity. And so, yeah, that would be a way to grow your referral program that's completely sort of gangster and non-obvious. And yeah, I mean, LinkedIn did it too. They paid a $10 million fine after IPO. Not saying you should do anything illegal. Follow the laws of every country you're in.
Or IPO. Well, then you can afford it. Because $10 million is nothing if you IPO.
Yeah, exactly. So LinkedIn did this in the early days. They would just send emails from your address book, and then they would, after IPO, they just paid the $10 million fine. So it seemed like it was a well worth it thing to grow at that scale quickly.
Well, with a name like Mongol Raider and Gangster, I like the whole thing. It just kind of comes together. So I'm going to move on. And Mongol Raider, if you have more questions, they do have a question. So this is their follow-up is right here. Can you see that? iOS and Android plus web.
Last question, focus on mobile program or is web dead? Oh, this is a good one. Okay, so this is a complex question. It's like there's an old classical operations research program. And remember, I'm an engineer, but I'm a marketer second, but there's a facility location planning problem. And so it says, how do you decide to make decisions geographically? So it's a linear programming problem. But anyways, you might find it interesting. What you need to do is you need to make a stack rank of all the African countries and their telcos. You need to figure out which telcos have the cheapest data or free data, or a density of people who have access to Wi-Fi and internet connections. If you can market in those countries easily and cheaply and they have a strong internet connection, then you're going to want to go the mobile app route. If you can't, then you're going to want to go the web app quick loading URL route. So it's going to depend country by country based on the speed of data. Is mobile program or is web dead? I'm unsure, but I think collecting that data will give you the answer to this question, because it'll tell you whether or not it makes sense to try to acquire downloads or to just get them to visit your website. And if you need to get them to visit your website, you need ultra quick load times. So you want like static and security stuff. I'm not a developer, but there is like a set of standards on how to make something load quickly on mobile web.
Okay, so I'm going to move on. And Mongol Raider, if you have a follow-up to that, I'm always interested. And I like grilling Kumar. right? I get so much thrill out of making it difficult for them. So here we go with another one. And thank you so much for being here, Paramveer. IgniteScale.com, next gen project portfolio management for enterprises.
IgniteScale.com. New customer projects. Oh God. I see. So this is for like is this for management? I'm going to ask a question. Is this for like management consulting companies?
I'm going to wait for them to.
I'll wait for Paramveer to respond.
I wish we had one of those like game show. Oh, okay. So here we go.
So it's for software. Is it for software consulting firms, Paramveer?
I'm waiting.
I see. Okay. So there is a website called agencyspotter.com. In agencyspotter.com, there's lots of digital. Well, this one is marketing agencies. Okay. So this is an example of one site that has a ton of software agencies inside of it. moonlightwork.com. So there are more sites that are like Moonlight Work, but this one focuses on individual developers. I don't off the top of my head know which sites focus on hiring software agencies, but we can find out real quick. Let's see. Hire software teams. Let's just see. Oh, here we go. So there's a website called uteam.io. And the uteam.io definitely has competitors. So you're going to have to make a list of the competitors and then figure out where can you get a list. And uteam is actually a Y Combinator company. But you need to make a list of all the websites that would have software development agencies and get in front of them. And get their emails and scrape that information. And you can use a combination of the scraping tools I mentioned previously. I think one of the problems, just to be quite frank, is there's not enough context on your website. It's unclear like what the differentiator is for what you're doing at IgniteScale and who you're targeting. So I would have a section on your page. Maybe this is too broad. I would have a section right here. This is perfect for software development agencies selling into enterprise, something along those lines. I think that'll help you drive more conversions. That's as much as I have on that one. Do you have any questions, Paramveer?
Okay, so waiting for oh, okay, so hold on. They do. So hold on. Can you see that? The question, the comment is, and again, it's Paramveer. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. Yep, we are doing personal enterprise sales so far. We'll focus on improving that.
There's a guy who's also giving advice, Javed. And then there's Chickenomics One, who has a farming startup growing chickens. Most people don't realize why fried chicken sandwiches became a big thing in the United States. I've tweeted about it a lot.
Well, let's go one at a time. So have we concluded with Paramveer? Is our session with Paramveer and has it ended?
Yeah, he said thanks. I thought that was the end of it. Maybe he has another question. I'm not sure.
Okay, so everybody, I'm watching this. So if you want to ask away, I'm seeing everything. So yeah, I do see that Javad said that, and then so moving on to Chickenomics, which I think is pretty cool. And I think I saw them on Twitter. They said they were going to come on and ask and make this comment. So Chickenomics One Says my farming startup is a lot better for having been here. Thank you guys, and thank you so much for joining us. And if you have questions, Kumar knows a lot about agriculture, and I don't want to say poultry, and I don't want to obligate him to that, but we do discuss such things periodically. So hopefully you can grill him a little bit.
So
I don't mean to say grill, but you can ask questions.
should I do the chicken startup or the Go Trendier first?
Chickenomics, please ask us a question so we can be responsive to it. And thank you again so much for being here. So we're going to move on to this one. So thank you so much. Is it Itzel? Thank you so much for being here.
GoTrendier.com.
Yeah, so she has GoTrendler.com. And she says, marketplace for secondhand fashion.
Maybe I'm typing it in wrong. You have to fix your A record, so don't forget that. You see, so it's in Colombia and Mexico. Let's go to Mexico real quick.
She said, oh yeah, she just said GoTrendler.mx, and sorry.
Perfect.
That's a nice site, actually. And I know nothing. I'm just saying, as a consumer person who browses occasionally, that's a nice site.
Okay, so the gameplay here is pretty interesting. You want to give tools that allow you to take advantage of other people's marketplaces. So what that means is, like, anytime you're building a social network, you always have to steal from somebody else's social network. A good example of that is Facebook. Facebook required you to have a .edu, and that in a way that was like authenticating who the users were, identifying them. In the case of YouTube, they just stole content, right? They posted pirated content and they didn't take them down. In the case of Scribd, which is a famous PDF website, they posted pirated content as well. So in this situation, you have to create tools that, I don't know Mexico and Colombia that well. I think you have to create tools that'll allow you to post the products in Facebook marketplaces, in Craigslist, in whatever other local marketplaces exist, but they're embedded inside of like GoTrendier type situations. So every time there's posts on GoTrendier, you can just cross-distribute that on lots of different websites. I'll give you an example at the enterprise level. You'd kind of be doing it in a hacky way. So let's look at this real quick. There's a company called Zentail. So if you're selling merchandise, what Zentail does is they'll post the product across many different channels. I'll show you what types of channels they post across. This is a corollary example. It's not a good example, but I hope it's illustrative. So when you post to Amazon, it'll post across lots of different channels. So what you want to do is you want to build anything that'll increase the digital tentacles of Trendier across other platforms. So you could even help them generate images that have your watermark on them, that are just clean images with pricing and other info displayed. Chrome extensions are a good way. So if you built a Chrome extension that allowed them to quickly post their inventory to platforms like Craigslist and other systems, that would be useful. I don't know what the Craigslist is of Mexico. I don't know how big Craigslist is in Mexico. I don't know if Facebook Marketplace is the one. I would make a list of all of those marketplaces and I would push with custom built tools. Even without, I would push with custom built tools, links back to this site. You need to remain pseudo-random so they don't detect you doing it, but I think that would be a fast way to get more eyeballs on. There's some on-site SEO fixes, but those are more nuanced that we can talk about later. Definitely tweet to Sumit Shah on Twitter. He would be a good person to discuss that with.
Who was that, Kumar?
Sumit Shah. He runs the founder of Ranks.io. It wouldn't cannibalize your marketplace because you can post on other platforms with links back or custom images. And right now you're stealing from those platforms. Your site still isn't big enough for it to be a problem, so it's a good place to start stealing them.
So do you have a follow-up to that? I want to make sure we make it as hard for them as we can.
It would cannibalize your marketplace at the onset, but right now your search topography, you don't have thousands of backlinks to your site, I don't think, at the moment. So for right now, you're fine. Like, you steal until you don't have to steal anymore, basically, when it comes to web traffic. So that's the way to think of that. Airbnb, for example, they built lots of Craigslist bots in the early days. You should be thinking about, how can I take advantage of TikTok, Instagram, Etsy, like whatever it is that, whatever the other marketplaces are, and the payment route should be through your website. So I think that I would think about winning in that way.
And it still says, and I hope I'm saying your name right, and I have a feeling I'm probably not, so pardon me. She says, awesome, thanks. And I want to make a quick correction as well. I called it Trendler, and I don't have the best eyes, and it's not Trendler. It's trendier.mx. So thanks again. I had to squint to see that, and that's my fault.
I have one more thing, actually, to share with her. I don't know if Facebook groups are a big thing in Mexico and Colombia. I don't have enough context. That's the problem. So Jarvee is a bot system that allows you to abuse Facebook. So if you have good deals in inventory, you can post it across thousands of Facebook groups very rapidly. In the US, there's tons of like secondhand market Facebook groups. In South America, in Mexico, I'm less sure. So Jarvee would be the tool, JARVEE.com. And I like, it has a lot of features on Facebook in terms of cross-posting to many Facebook groups and stuff. You can auto-join, unjoin groups in your niche. So what I would do is I would search secondhand clothing in Spanish on those Facebook groups and hope for the best. Hopefully there's a ton. Hopefully there's a ton of people in Mexico posting in that way. The other thing I would do is, because I think WhatsApp is big in Mexico, I would have a WhatsApp button that the user could click and share on WhatsApp, or share a WhatsApp link that's convenient. And the preview image should show up properly inside of WhatsApp. So be cognizant of that.
Okay, that's awesome. We're going to move on, right? We have to make it hard for you. So here we go. Can you see this? Centivate.com.
Yes, let's look at it. Modern web. Boy, it's got an aggressive scroll. Let's see this. I'll be honest, this is very complex. This looks like an ICO. It looks like they did an airdrop and a token swap. I am skeptical on cryptocurrencies and ICOs. I mean, I understand their value for things like, it's a good way to convert RMB to USD. But as far as like building things on decentralized systems with coins, I don't know if I buy it. Most of the time, because I've never seen stochastic simulations of anything. It's mostly a lot of like mesh sensor networks and stuff like that. So I don't know enough. I'm obviously very skeptical in general. I'm an engineer. So let's say you just want to drive downloads to this. How would we do that? Let's look real quick. I do have an idea to drive downloads to something I don't understand. Okay, so they have a new type of browser. So the good thing is there is a tool for us. It's called Get Armada. .app. Get Armada will snipe on different social networks for people mentioning things related to new types of browsers. And it does it on Twitter, on Reddit, on Quora, and the open web, tons of other forums. You can even filter it. So if you want to filter by language or other factors, you could probably do that. You can dump it into your Slack channel and then engage them right there. If you want, you can create thousands of accounts on all these platforms and abuse them to get your product in front of lots of people who are talking about browsers. So I wasn't bullish on your technology, but I still told you a way to get in front of lots of people who would potentially care about a new type of browser. You could also use Jarvee. There's a lot of people in Facebook groups that talk about cryptocurrency. At one time, I was the Ethereum group admin, so it says like 150,000 people or whatever. But if you go in there and post what you're building with distributed application technologies, it'll be relevant to that audience, and they might be willing to be an early adopter.
And I'm not sure if this is somebody who's also relevant to Centivate. They're saying hybrid centralized network with decentralized components. And Jordy, may I ask if Centivate is a company that you're discussing with us? Because I want to make sure that that what you said also corresponds with Centivate. And I'll wait for them to respond to that.
You said no ICO, so let's see. Seeing if I know anyone on the team.
Okay, so Jordy said that they are. That they do correspond with Centivate. So thank you so much for being here. And they also just said software networking, and they gave us another link as well. Centivate.com information, Centivate, the future of the internet.
I got it. I'm copying it. I'm loading it now. The problem is I don't know enough about how the internet works. I mean, I know how people behave on different social networks. I know how people interact with different APIs. I know every single new API that comes out, I monitor on Programmable Web and Product Hunt and Beta List, but I don't understand how DNS works. In fact, when I configure DNS, just to give you an idea, I always configure the A records improperly. So that's why when you type in www on some of the sites, I always have to have someone else come in and help because I'm likely to fudge it. So I wish I could be of more help here, but it's probably just above my pay grade.
Is that responsive, Jordy? So please do let us know. And I'm going to skip around a little bit because it still said that Facebook is big here.
Got it. The question is if Facebook Groups is big in Mexico and in Colombia. I believe it is, but I don't know enough because I'm not in any Spanish-speaking Facebook groups. I should probably join one.
Okay, I'm going to actually make things hard for you.
Let's do it.
Chickenomics gives us their website. It's it's epicchickenco.com.au.
So guys, one of the reasons I'm super fascinated with chickens is because I started reading about lipotoxicity 5 years ago. What it means is when you take in saturated fat, it destroys your ability to produce insulin in your beta cells in your pancreas. And so I was fascinated with this. And along the way, I discovered that fried chicken sandwiches in the US became a lot more popular. They're everywhere. There's a new fried chicken joint everywhere in the US. The reason why that happened is because the United States went from requiring, I think it was like 20 parts feed to 1 part chicken to 4 parts feed, 1 part chicken over the course of 30 or 40 years. It was a crazy productivity jump in how you can grow a chicken to an extreme size with genetic modifications and hormones and stuff. Or not hormones, but just genetic modifications. So this is a family-owned chicken business. Who are you selling to? Are you ideally selling to retail outlets, restaurants? What's the ideal?
I think they've addressed that. So I'm scrolling up right now because I think that they gave us a little bit more info. So hold on a second. Okay, so they gave us 2 bits of info. Is it too early to go e-com direct to consumer in Australia, long distance to market, low population density?
Yeah, I think because of the nature of Australia, I think you'd have to go to a distributor who has a retail storefront. And it'd have to be based on, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, you're in Australia, it's very distributed. You're growing chickens. You're trying to get people to either come to that place and buy it or buy a subscription. I don't think you have good product market fit on doing that. But if you were just to go sell clean organic chickens, that would probably be, or if you're trying to sell like a organic brand that's probably viable. I think that's a tough one. That one's really hard. It's a very commoditized market. There's a lot of people who can make chickens and grow them. I would look at what would be a good way to do this. Oh, here's a good way to do this. Make a list of all the companies that make meal kits in Australia. Find all their menu items with chicken in them and figure out who they're sourcing from and see if you can become a mainstream supplier because you have an ethical supply chain. And that would be one way to get sort of the yuppie audience or Henry audience, high earning, not rich yet audience who's ordering meal kits. There's also the option to look at restaurants and their menus. There's certain APIs like OpenTable. OpenTable has an API where you can probably pull the menus of all the restaurants. If you can pull the menus, you can see which ones have a lot of items on their menu that are chicken or poultry related. So that would be a way to find potential customers. But it's very hard because you're talking about a low margin business and the cost to make a pound of chicken changes every year. So you really have to, when you get in there, they need to feel the differentiation. But I don't know what there's a concept in psychology called the just noticeable difference. They call it the JND. I don't know what the just noticeable difference is between chicken we get from your farm and chicken that you get from other farms. And I don't know that the average consumer can tell. So it's a very tricky market. I wish I had a better answer for you, but this is how you'd find people who are trying to buy chickens at scale for wholesale.
And Chickenomics, if you can follow up with that, I'm very curious if you're already going that route with using kind of like the wedge of ethical. I think that's how Kumar described it. So I'm very interested if that's already a tactic, just out of my own curiosity. Chickenomics said thank you, but if you get a chance to respond to my question, that would be awesome. I'm very interested if you've already gone that tactic and if it was successful for you. And so, Jordy, I want to follow up because they had a few more tweets. They said, I don't know if you can see this.
I see it. I'm reading all the tweets.
So let me just say it out loud in case somebody doesn't have isn't seeing it. Jordy says totally understood, and this is for Centibate again. Totally understood. This is the main issue we encounter.
I do think your messaging is really complicated. Just keep in mind the average reading age of an American is 14 years old. Wow. So if you're trying to build a new system for the web, it's got to be accessible to them. And if you want to think about rewording your website, there's a tool that'll help you called Hemingway app. It has a readability algorithm embedded inside of it. So I'll type something like superconducting astrophotonics. It should theoretically raise. Yep, goes up to grade 14, right? So you want to keep your text as simple as possible. I'd plug all your text from your website into hemingwayapp.com because it'll help you achieve something that's closer to the average reading age of an American. And that'll give you a greater digestibility. I think a lot of people aren't understanding what you're building. And that's the way to reach a larger audience, right? Then there's a company called Helpin. Do you see that one, Adam?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you see Helpin, Helpen?
Do I see them? I don't see them, but if you can just start going for them, I'll find them on my screen. So the name, so you're going to look at a new company that I haven't put on the screen yet called HELP. What was that?
Helpen, Helpen.
Okay, cool.
Raise empathetic kids. I guess this is some sort of nonprofit. Okay, it's an Alexa application. What's your family? Trying to understand what it is. One moment. It's about educating children. This is a really tough one. Whenever I think about technology and education, I think content accessibility matters, but I don't know that technology revolutionizes education the way people think it does in the EdTech sector. This is about like empathy and EQ and stuff. What would I do to grow this? So if I'm targeting parents, right, because that would be the primary target of something like this, then I would probably, okay, here's what you do. So if you're targeting parents, this is the ball game you're going to play. There are companies in the United States whose sole goal is to record every piece of data on you possible. That's all they do. They have competitors too. There's many of them. This is one of them. It's called Axiom. And if you've ever heard of ACXIOM, they have 300 data points on every consumer. They even know when you have like a baby. So if someone's having a baby, or if their child is turning 3 or 4, it might be the perfect time. They can help you run cold mail campaigns to those families. The other thing you can look at, people who are moving into houses, like houses with a specific configuration of like a backyard with a kid's playground or something. There's a company called Atom Data. A real estate solution, you use it for real estate technologies, but you can track down who is moving and what the modulations in the fabric of US real estate transactions are. And you could track relevant properties, and you could physically mail blast them. You could physically mail blast them about help-in, or you could email them and explain what it is your technology does. And since it's all about modeling generosity, I think you need the parents to Instagram and share about this stuff. So I'd also recommend the current tech solution. When you design your funnel and your incentives, make sure that they're tweeting and Instagramming and hashtagging as they're doing that, because they want to spread good vibes. I'm not very much of a brand person, but you should get someone who knows how to navigate brand, thinking through what that journey is, so the story you're putting out there, or having your users put out there vibes with the message you're trying to get out there. I hope that was helpful.
Well, I don't see them on my screen yet. So if they ask a follow-up question, please, I think you should be able to click on it and it'll show on the screen so that everybody can kind of share in that experience. I do see helping. So now I see that I see the website, Raise Empathetic Kids. That's awesome. It's a beautiful picture. So now, and feel free to continue asking that question to them. So now we're going to move on to cricketreturns.com. And thank you so much for being here, Rusty. Cricketreturns.com. E-commerce returns for long tail.
Make your online returns work for you. Oh boy, this one's a fun one. Okay. So this will be good because I've dealt with this stuff before. So if you're a technologist, this one's going to be a challenge, but it'll be fun. So what you're going to do, there's a giant list of domains, 250 million domains. We can get it in a file. It's pretty wild, right? So 250 million. You can filter it down to everything that's this website looks like it's for the US. Let's just see real quick. Yep, it's in the US. So what you're going to do, zone files, 250 million domains. You're going to filter down to all the ones that are in the US. These guys even have an API. What you'll then do is you'll look for code footprints or keyword footprints that indicate each of the sites is. You're going to find only .coms, right? Because you don't want weird countries like, it wouldn't be in Australia, it wouldn't be in other countries, right? So you can filter down that 250 million. It'll probably come down by a good bit. Then you can eliminate certain types of domain names based on stuff. And you'll end up with like 50 million to 100 million domains. What you'll then do is you'll crawl for all the ones that have, you'll crawl one page deep, and you'll just make sure they're in English. Okay, so that'll bring you down to probably 10 to 20 million, 30 million maybe. Then the next thing you'll do is you'll crawl and see if there's any code that indicates it's a Shopify site. The other thing you'll do is you'll crawl for the text, because you guys care about returns, right? You also care about a specific price. You should crawl each landing page for item prices that impute they could use this and it's a profitable solution for them and you. The other thing you can do is you can also use, there's a solution called built with. I like to have more control. I don't like using built with often, but if you go to Shopify, it'll tell you there's 112,759 websites using Shopify, some number like that, but you can download everybody using Shopify. The current list is 3.4 million websites. I did this recently. Somewhere in my inbox, I have a list of 7 million domains of e-commerce websites. Some of them are defunct, some of them aren't selling things, not all of them are Shopify, but you could download this list and go through it. I'd say if you're going to download this list, 1.4 million, do a lot of filtration on it to find the businesses that would need returns where you're a sweet spot seller. There's also a game of building communities. So build a community of e-commerce owners and as well attract them. You can also, this is all a scraping, crawling, and outreach game. So definitely make sure you're looking at, built with as well as bit.ly/scraping monster. It's hard targeting e-commerce shops unless there's an explicit gap in the Shopify marketplace, and then you'll have a lot of competition, and you'll constantly be paying for engineering to compete with that competition. So unless you have like a moat on physical warehousing or physical infrastructure to make returns more viable at a better price, or figure out the last mile where you send someone to come pick up the item from the shop, this is a really tough business to scale easily. It has its rough moments. Anybody selling into the Shopify marketplace needs to make sure they're using non-onshore developers. Use offshore developers and keep your costs low. Very tough space. But I think those are some tactics that would help you acquire users.
And Rusty, if you have follow-up questions to that, please do ask. As that's occurring, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. So I'm going to give everybody just a little bit more time, and I'll scroll through. And Kumar, because you found one that I didn't see, is there anything that I'm missing?
I'm wondering if I'm missing any of the ones. I think everybody asked a question about their website.
Okay, cool. And this is something that Kumar usually does kind of spontaneously, and he usually does it kind of during the earlier hours of the day. So I thought it would be really fun. I just surprised Kumar and I said, let's do this because I enjoy it so much. And for me, it's I don't watch much TV. In fact, I watch very, very little TV. So for me, this is a movie. I really enjoy it. I think that's it. I see there's a new comment, so I want to just make sure. Rusty says thank you. So Kumar, I'm just going to ask you one or two questions, which is how did you become so familiar with all these sites? I mean, it really is remarkable.
So in manufacturing engineering, when you design a facility, there's thousands of moving pieces, and if you don't remember them, then somebody might get killed. So it's really mission critical. And so when I moved into web stuff, my desire was to never learn coding because there was nothing in there that could be fascinating to me. Because I know prop stat, I know math, I know how pixels move on a screen. It's hard for me to find something unfathomable in that. But in marketing, there's lots of uncertainty. Like, how do you acquire customers and do it efficiently, effectively without hiring lots of people? That was challenging. I found it to be a consistent challenge. And so I got into it. And the way I learned lots of tools is every day for several years, I would go to Product Hunt, I would go to betalist.com, and I would just look at and download applications. I download applications that I didn't even need to use. There's even a gay dating app. I just downloaded it to go through it and understand how they think about the user, right? And when you see how they think about the user, you're like, okay, they're naive. They don't understand this thing about the user, or, oh my goodness, they're really sharp. That's going to be a killer founder. Whether it's this thing or the next, they've really thought through this at a core level. And so I didn't know what I was looking for, though. I would be amiss to say oh, I wanted to be a killer marketer. No, I just was curious. And that's it. And I started remembering things. I went to hackathons I went to 5 or 6 hackathons because of my co-founder of Link Texting. He actually won $250,000 at hackathons, but when I was there, I was getting exposed to all sorts of web technologies, and it was fascinating to me.
So do you think that you're looking at all these sites as just kind of a neuroses type of thing? Like that's your, I have mine. I listen to a lot of earnings calls for publicly traded companies. It's just, something I like doing. And we all have those things that are like professional hobbies maybe. Is this kind of a professional hobby for you, or is it kind of, do you feel you're academically studying these websites?
No, it was a hobby, and I didn't realize till a few years ago that it was a talent, or it was like I didn't realize that the market had a value for it, and that happened by happenstance. And then right around November, December of last year, business slowed down because of Thanksgiving. And I was talking to my co-founder. He's like, "Man, you should just do that thing where you when you're talking to someone across a table and you screen share with them, just do it online." So that's when I started doing tweet storms.
It's really amazing, and so I hope you're going to do a lot more of them, and I'd certainly love to host them. And if I can't host them, then I'll certainly show you how to do it, because it really is awesome, and it's very simple to use this technology. So again, everybody has joined us for 56 minutes now and 17 seconds. Hopefully everybody had a great time, and Kumar, hopefully you had a great time and you let us interrogate you.
Yes, thank you for having me, Adam, and thank you everyone for joining and hearing what I had to say, and I hope I was helpful to all of you. Obviously, if you need anything, just tweet to me, tag me, do what you need to, and I'll see if I can help on Twitter.
That's cool. So again, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we were a good guest on your Twitter and Periscope feed. Everybody have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Now, hey, man.